some more analysis on the situation between China and the United States by bringing in the political risk analyst Ross Feingold, who's joining us from Taipei in Taiwan. Ross Feingold, good to have you with us on the program. So let's pick up on what Ubay was saying a little bit there. I mean, how concerned are you of a genuine military confrontation between the United States and China at this point?
Well, certainly the risks of military confrontation are increasing. China has made an enormous investment in improving its military capabilities, whether that's on the ground, on the water, or in the air. And the United States and now Australia and Japan, to a lesser extent, other countries in the region, are responding accordingly. It's unrealistic to expect, whether it's the United States, Japan, Australia, or other countries, to really do nothing to maintain their previous levels of military spending when China is dramatically increasing its military spending. Now, of course, this does create significant risks. There's the risk of an accident occurring, and that's happened in the region before. For example, when U.S. and Chinese aircraft crashed into each other in 2001. Or there's a risk of a confrontation. For example, one side or another makes a move that causes another side to respond, and that's possible in some of the disputed areas, whether it's the Diaoyu, Senkaku Islands in Northeast Asia, it's Taiwan, or obviously in the South China Sea.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about miscalculation in a moment, but let's talk specifically about an area of contention, and that's the island which you find yourself in at the moment. Just how close are we to there being anything more seriously taking place in terms of a Chinese move to try and reunite Taiwan with the mainland?
Well, what makes this question so interesting is we often read or hear the rhetoric that comes from China, and we often hear statements of support from the United States, although we have to keep in mind that the United States and Taiwan do not have a formal military alliance. But again, what makes it so interesting sitting here in Taipei is the issue of, well, what is the government and the military and the people of Taiwan, what will they do about this? The government here has increased military spending, and recently they announced the budget for next year, which includes another increase. But is it enough? And are the people here in Taiwan willing to fight for their autonomy? This is a perennial question that, frankly, there really is no known answer. There's polls that show various levels of support for fighting. But we see that, for example, the willingness of people here in Taiwan to serve in the military often fails to meet the recruitment goals of the military. So this is very much an open question about the willingness of the Taiwan people to fight as well. And that might play into China's hands if China sees that there's an unwillingness to fight on the part of Taiwan, if they see that it's still in doubt whether or not the United States or other countries are willing to come to the assistance of Taiwan, then China might make a move. And this has prompted a lot of experts to say maybe it is time for the United States and other countries to say that they will formally, or to formally say that they'll come to Taiwan's assistance.
It's really interesting framing in that whether there is a will and whether the US would ever do that formal kind of protection arrangement. And finally then, Ross, areas of cooperation between the United States and China. We've talked about the areas of competition, but what areas can the two nations cooperate going forward?
Well, ever since he was a candidate and then after January when he took office, it's clear that Biden and his team, they maintain this hope that despite maintaining some Trump administration policies and their own rhetoric, and obviously things like the Aukus agreement, that they could still cooperate with China on a few areas. And the ones that they talk about most often are climate change and the nuclear agreement with Iran. And that really hasn't happened yet. And it's going to reach a point in time where they're going to have to come to the realization that maybe that's just not going to work. And there's going to be competition or even confrontation with China across the wide range of issues. And then from the Chinese side, they've made it abundantly clear as well that they have their own expectations. Unless they see movement on trade or some other issues, they're not going to be very eager to cooperate with the United States on climate change, Iran, or some of the other issues like North Korea, more recently Afghanistan. This is very much an open question, but the previous perspective of the Biden administration that they could still cooperate with China on a narrow group of issues, that's looking increasingly unlikely.
Okay, Ross Feingold, a political risk analyst in Taipei. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.